There are a lot of things that I want to say in this review, so I don't want the video to be too long and tiring, so in this introduction I'll just cut to the chase and get to the point. Field Commander Rommel, published in 2008 by DVG. It's a solitaire game where you play Rommel and the board plays the allies. Is it a good game? Is it a bad game? Let's find out. The game comes with 3 maps featuring 3 different campaigns. France 1940, North Africa 1941, certainly the one that most people will be interested into, and D-Day 1944. They are good maps, they are very functional, clearly designed, the boxes with information about things that you need and the orders of the AI. They're very easy to use, they're very clear. I'm not a big fan of the graphics because they look clearly computer generated. I don't think that helps with the historical feel, but certainly not a big deal. What I like is the material. It is paper, that's very common these days, but it's some sort of plastified paper. It's much more durable than regular paper. It is waterproof, and I know that for a fact because I did spill some water on one of them. It is much easier to lay flat than regular maps made of paper, and it's definitely cheaper than a mounted map. So I think that to be a very good idea. The counters are clearly designed. They have nice graphics on them. Information is presented in a traditional way. You have fire and attack, some people have a second fire, fire and defense, movement. So you won't have any problem using these counters. Also, they are very strong, very sturdy. So from the point of view of the components, if you like the game, you'll be able to play it for a long time without any trouble or sign of wear. Beside the attack value printed on the counters, the main factor in the battle system will be the battle plans, represented by these cheats. The ally has a bunch, you have a bunch, and each time before the battle you will be drawing some from the allies from a cup, and you will get some according to the number of units that you're committing to the battle and according to how many supplies you want to spend to purchase extra ones. Those battle plans will make things interesting by allowing the 2 sides to do special actions or to receive special bonus. If the ally receives this one, for example, they will get an extra unit in the battle, which might really change the situation. Here they get a better attack. This one can be particularly bloody because they get to attack all of your units once before you can fire back, and sometimes really when you fire back, not many of your people are left alive. The fact that they can draw different ones each time adds variety, adds a factor of unpredictability. It can make things like pretty fun. That's definitely a good thing. For the ally, things work differently. As you can see, there's a small number here on the counter which represents the number of supplies that the player must spend in order to acquire those battle plans. That puts an enormous weight on the supplies, on how you manage your supplies and your resources. And this is really the key factor. How many supplies you decide to commit to this battle by buying certain battle plans, how many are you saving for later. This is the key factor, because often happens that you have 2 groups, like a large group without battle plans and a much smaller group that has a lot of battle plans, and that will change the tide of the battle, and the small group will win precisely because of the battle plans. In a game of Rommel, you simply have to take supplies into account, supplies being such an important factor in Rommel's career to the point of being the cause of his defeat in North Africa. Here the way it's handled is that the map is divided in regions, and each region is assigned a supply value, which is a number between 1 and 3, that indicates the maximum amount of units that you can have in any one of these areas. So it's much more a matter of concentration than of position, because it doesn't really matter where the units are, it doesn't matter where the enemies are. These units might be here, might be completely surrounded by enemies, and as long as only 2 of them, they will always be on supply and they will not suffer any penalty, which seems strange to say the least. Something that the game does manage to capture is the huge disproportion in terms of supplies between Rommel and the Allies. The Allies will always have supplies, will always be in supply. They will use them to refit their units and buy battle plans. They will really take good advantage of those. You, Rommel, will always be short of supplies. You will have to manage yours carefully. So you will actually be presented with the historical problem, and you will have maybe the historical feeling of being overwhelmed by the supplies of the Allies, just like Rommel did. However, you will not have the same options he had to respond to that problem, because of course you cannot trick the AI, you cannot bluff against the AI that guides the Allies, you cannot cut the lines of communication of supplies, because they simply don't have any, they just always are in supply. So you have on one hand the historical problem, but then you will respond by using strategies and maneuvers that sometimes feel like they belong more to a board game than a war game. Now, for a quick overview of the way the three maps play. In France 1940, you will be starting from here, and you will be moving around the map, trying to capture these three areas with the French flag. It is a scenario that is good as an introduction because it has a very low number of counters involved. Rommel starts with only 4 units on the map and can bring in 3 units as reinforcements later, so it's 7 units total. The Allies, of course, have more, but still there aren't many units to move around. So it's a game that is short, it plays fast, it's easy. You have a lot of space, a lot of areas here where you can move around, plan your strategies. It's a scenario that can be fun to play as a light diversion. Maybe you don't have much time, you're tired. This, in that case, may be a good choice. In a North African campaign, you will start from the west, from Tripoli, and you will be moving towards east, trying to take control of Cairo, which is the victory condition. Now, this is certainly the scenario that most people will be interested into because of the amazing features that Rommel did in North Africa, where his military genius was really shining. And it's pretty paradoxical that this scenario is a scenario in the game with the most limited options. As you can see, the thin of land is pretty narrow, and each level is divided in either one area or 2 areas, like here. So you have some maneuvers that you can do here, it can be fun, but then as the game proceeds, you will be entering this area here, and very often what the game will amount to at that point will be a wall of your units advancing in one direction against a wall of ally units that are advancing in the opposite direction. And as you can see, there are many things that you can do at that point, many places where you can go. It is really how many supplies you have, how you use them, and what battle orders you're gonna buy with them. In the end, it turns out to be a pretty static affair. D-Day is by far my favorite scenario. Here you will be trying to defend as long as possible these 3 objective areas against a horde of allies that will be pouring through the beaches in the north. It is an interesting scenario because it has different phases where you will be doing different things. At the beginning, you'll be working mainly here in the rear guard, organizing your defense and cleaning up the area from the paratroopers landing the night before the attack. It also will be exciting because you don't know exactly where the allies are going to attack. Are they going to concentrate their units here? Is it going to be here? Who is going to attack where? And that will change every game because you're basically drawing units from a cup. So that's interesting, that's historical. Then you'll advance and there will be a phase of intense battle on the beaches where you'll be trying to hold the allies back as long as possible. It will be a little static and repetitive because then it will be battle, 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 resupply, refit, battle, 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 battle. But trust me that when it's over, you'll miss it because finally the allies will break through your lines. There's just no way they're not gonna do it. And then your survivors will be retreating, probably joining forces with reinforcements coming from this area. And here in the middle, you will be trying to survive as long as possible, try different maneuvers, divert the allies from the objectives. So it is definitely the scenario that has the most sophisticated progression, has the strongest historical feel to it, and is the one that keeps me most interested. Field Commander Rommel is a simple game, is easy to learn. I know it has drawn a lot of criticism, I believe mainly because the expectations that the theme create and what the game is about are very different. They don't really match. People that are interested in Rommel, and I'm one of them, I would play virtually anything that has Rommel on the box, will probably look in a game for some opportunities to reproduce those strategies and techniques that made the military genius of Rommel so interesting, so fascinating. If you're playing a game about the fox, you want to outfox your enemy. I understand that's very hard in a game that is a solitaire where you're fighting against an AI. Nevertheless, it seemed that really even trying to do that was not at the core of the design. The game feels very abstract, not just an abstraction from history, which is what every word game is, but just an abstract exercise, even for the operational level that this game is. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. There are many good abstract games. It's just that people that want to pick up this game, that will pick up a game about Rommel, then they will certainly be disappointed in what they find in the box. However, if you like abstract games, if you don't mind a game that is a little static, a little sedentary, that feels more about resource management in a war scenario than really a war game stricto sensu, then you might enjoy this. Because the game is really about how you manage your supplies. Certainly you need to move around the map in order to conquer objectives and get more supplies, but then how you reinvest those supplies, how many, what you buy with them, how many you save for later, to me that feels like it really is the flesh and bones of the game. The first scenario, France 1940, is enjoyable. Just keep in mind that in terms of depth and complexity, it feels like a postcard game that has been blown to a larger map. The third scenario, D-Day 1944, it's overall an enjoyable, fun scenario to play. Again, just if you like that type of game. If you don't mind the abstraction, if you don't mind the huge investment, resource management aspect of the game. If you're looking for a game that has a strong historical feel, that gives you the opportunity to try the strategies that Rommel was famous for, if you're looking for a game about Rommel, then maybe you will have to look for it somewhere else.